A corporatocracy is a judicial, political, government body that is controlled or influenced by corporations and their desires and decisions. Yesterday, Alabama proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is officially a corporatocracy under the control and influence of Alabama, thanks to the spinelessness and moral bankruptcy of our sitting politicians. You see, this has not been an overnight thing, this has been a long thing coming. And yesterday, we saw House Bill 475, the newest PSC power grab bill, go through not only the Senate, but the House. And in that order, you heard me correct. You see, if you're not from Alabama, you're like, why is it shocking that the politicians did their job for one day? That's because here they don't do their job. They very regularly take forever to do anything. Did you know that we've had legalized medical cannabis since 2020? And yet in 2026, we still don't have a sitting dispensary because they couldn't decide who wanted to profit enough. hmm Yeah. So when you look at Alabama Power and the PSC, our Public Service Commission, and you look at the fact that the PSC gave them a guaranteed profit. That's right. Alabama is the third highest bills in the nation and the highest in the Southeast for a guaranteed profit. And yesterday with House Bill 475, we saw them continue to guarantee that profit by taking away our voting rights, our power to the people. Clyde Chambliss naming that bill power to the people. I have never, look, me speaking out at those meetings, no one can ever say that Ashton Kennedy has anger issues again, because your girl held her tongue and I was so good and so nice. But in the back of my head, it was like that song, like, hit a motherfucker. Hit a motherfucker. Because these people, Alabamians are going to die. Alabamians are going to die because of the consequences of their actions, of Clyde Chambliss's actions, of Mac Butler's actions. Because what we're about to discuss, Alabama, when you look at the House yesterday and you see that they were working at 6:30 to pass this bill in one day to put it on Kay Ivey's desk, you go, wait, there were some no votes? Who voted no? Wait, why did every single person that vote no has a primary or a general election coming up where they are actually threatened for their seat? Remember when I called the original House Bill 475? Mac Butler's bill, we're going to call it that because there's so many numbers. When the original Mac Butler's bill came through, I called it a farce. I said it was a breadcrumb bill, a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, and I stand by that. But 2 days ago, I was prepared to go down to Montgomery to speak in support of that bill because it was the best we had. It was 5 pages, and that was a generous 5 pages because the actual context of the bill was like a page and a half. And it included rate cases every 3 years. It included, the opening of the books. When we say rate case, let's talk about opening the books. Again, I was going to speak out in support of it. What you need to know is the past 2 bills I went to speak out against the original PSC power grab bills, which the second one was SB 360, which is Clyde Chambliss's power to the people bill. That is the one where it was taking, the PSC is 3 people. We have working class candidates on the ballot. And within that time of getting working class candidates on the ballot at the end of January, then in early February, we see the first PSC power grab bill come through that was sponsored by Republican Chip Brown in the House. That one died because we got so loud. And what that one was doing was just taking it to appointments only. Thumper wanted to join. That one was just taking it to where we weren't going to vote at all. We just wanted appointments. And I said, we don't want no appointments. Fun fact, out of all 3 members sitting, please stop, Thumper. Sorry, my dogs came up causing chaos, had to pause. But so the original Chip Brown's bill took away our right to vote completely and wanted to appoint it. And like I was saying, we have 3 sitting PSC members. Every single one of them were appointed at one point or another. Jeremy Oden was originally appointed to his seat by Bentley. I believe it was Bentley back in like 2012. And then after that, he has been elected in since then as place 1 PSC commissioner. Twinkle Kavanaugh was the original president, but she was pulled for Trump's rural director, and in replacing her, Kay Ivey's appointee of Cynthia Almond. Now, Twinkle is not the only one to go to a Trump term. You see 3 members, Two of them were on two separate Trump terms for rural development. And then when you look at Trump being in bed with Meta, with Amazon, with any rich person that can inflate his ego momentarily, and you look at the way they're selling out the South, and you look at Palantir and the flock cameras, then you look at SB 71, the bill that we very loudly opposed, and this is why we're getting big on it, because SB 71 was sent to the governor's desk, and the next day KIV signed it into law before any of us could have a chance. And that's what we're scared is happening here. But SB 71, the reason it's bad is basically they're going to be allowed to poison us for profit, and we have to prove direct bodily harm or death in order to get them to change the law. So yeah, they're going to wait till enough people die from poisoning the South and we make a big enough stink. Well, Ashton, what does that have to do with the power bills? It's all connected. Stay with me. I really want to buy a cork board so I can have my like Charlie from It's Always Sunny moment. SB 71, I want you to think of it in terms of data centers, solar farms. All right, EPA regulations for poisoning us. These power grab bills are going to have to deal with solar farms and data centers and all that with our prices. Y'all see what I mean? Okay, so the original power grab bill by Chip Ugly Ass Brown, I will bleep that. He wanted to take it to appointments only. We did not want that. We spoke out. That bill died. Next month, here comes Clyde Peanut Head Chambliss, because he looks like a dancing peanut from the Proud Family. You'll see what I mean. And he's like, we're going to do SB 360. We're going to take the PSC from 3 positions to 7. More representation for everyone. And like I said at the meeting two days ago, I said, we don't need more representation. We need honest representation. Big difference. Because here's what Clyde, power to the people. You get to vote on people, Couple things that bill was missing. A, you don't actually have to live in your district to run in that district, funnily enough. B, the appointees would be appointed this summer. All of them would get appointed by KIV this summer, and we would not be able to vote the last one out until 2030. Now, I want you to think back to that Alabama Power phone call that got leaked, where the Alabama Power executive was like, some of these new candidates, they're not going to be friendly in bed with us. Hold on, let me pull it up for you. All right, this first voice you're going to hear is former Alabama former Alabama Power lobbyist R.B. Walker, who has now resigned after John Dodd from Energy Alabama leaked this clip, which I just want to say, as someone who spoke at the first House meeting and was like, this smells fishy. I like that we qualified candidates on like the 23rd or 28th, and then on February 5th, y'all are sitting here. This is super fast. And one thing I've noticed just as a woman, when you get into the boys club and all the boys want to have all the information and gatekeep it and give it out a little bit. And me and my one friend, I have a whole team behind me, just so you know, and it's like mainly all women, and I love them. And sometimes we're working with a fraction of the information, but being a bunch of women who were gifted kids, you know what I mean? All right, let's listen to R.B. Walker. We're going to break this down because as an English teacher, previous English sub, I love to read between the lines and listening to what someone is saying versus not saying. If you are a girl and you love gossip and people just walk up to you and tell you random stuff all the time, like deep personal stuff, because they're like, you just have a trusting face, get into politics. Get into politics. All right, let's go.
Politicized public service commission isn't good for really anybody. And I know y'all are probably going to be involved in that election and stuff like that. So we're not going to, try to mess with that election. But
I want to pause it right there. You see how he said, and his cadence. So we're not going to try to mess with that election. I'm telling y'all, Alabama Power has been violating some Very big laws. The legislators are all like, my conspiracy theory is that it is backroom meeting galore. And I've been loud about that for the past few months. Because, after we spoke out against that first Representative Brown bill, all of a sudden, the GOP in Alabama is having an emergency meeting. Just wait till we talk about the meeting yesterday where Mooney got kicked out of it for recording. It's coming. Okay. But let's listen to R.B. Walker some more.
Moving forward after that, the thought was, a different way of getting PSC commissioners. And so, it's not something I can be anywhere near. We're fine with the way it is now, but, somebody brought that up as an option. And so I took it to Neil, and I also mentioned it to Bradley Davidson just because he and I had the same conversation. But, if that was going to work, it would need to be. And so I was trying to give Neil a win,
I got you.
And I think that Neil's thought was, he would want y'all's support for it, which I agree
Energy
with.
Alabama support.
Y'all are very important to Neil and his district and stuff like that. So, my thought was, let's let y'all have a win, It was kind of how I was thinking about it, and, it just kind of, y'all could say bad stuff about us and we could say bad stuff about y'all in the press, but that, this might be in the best long-term interest of customers, which is probably the only thing that we can agree on, and just kind of leave it at that.
I got you.
The friendliness of these men who claim to hate each other is really weird. I've just been sitting on that for a while. I'm like, man, and even when you get there and you get into the state legislature, my thing is, I am an energy person, woo-woo. I love to read energy. And it's not even about loving. It's I had to learn to love it because it was going to happen either way. You walk into a room and I expected to walk into the Alabama legislature and feel like I was in a room of vipers. I thought I was about to come into a den of the most dangerous snakes in the world. It was high-key disappointing, honestly. Would you get down? This is a stray dog that came up. I haven't named her yet, but looks like she's staying. Yeah, I walked in and it wasn't this den of vipers. It was just a meeting room of buffoonery and for-profit grifting and really lame loser opportunist. And it's dang, I was told y'all were the best of the best. And instead, it just turns out y'all were just right place, right time, willing to compromise your morals and make a bit of money on it. And that's what our legislator really is. All right, let's go back to these two.
Well, yeah, I was a little curious because I'd had it come up.
That's John Dodd from Energy Alabama, by the way.
Bradley Davidson had mentioned something about it, and the way that he was mentioning it, kind of sounded like it was coming like it was facilitating the conversation, pretty much like y'all asking would we fight something like this, and so we didn't.
No.
Okay.
This is a take it or leave it thing.
I got you.
This would be if y'all. It looks funny to legislators
Listen here.
to get involved in something like that. And so, again, we're fine with the way it is now. But, a legislator asked me, is this something we should – because they saw – I don't have to say his name, but, we saw some crazy people qualify for the PSC.
Yeah.
Not necessarily – It would not be warm and cuddly with environmental groups. It would not be warm and cuddly with us. We're going to try to work with whoever gets over there. That's our posture,
Likewise.
But if there's a way that there could be better people on the PSC that would allow us to do long range planning, even I would be up.
There's people running that aren't going to be warm and cuddly with us. Why is people over profit a radical statement? R.B. Walker, why are you so comfortable letting Alabamians suffer so that your boss can get a bigger profit? I genuinely, when is it going to start being on site with these people? When is it going to start being on site, little girl? Because Alabamians are going to die because of the bill that just passed the Senate and the House yesterday. So I want y'all to know, looking at those, that phone call and what he said, obviously Alabama Power works very closely with these legislators. I love that you can see the dog biting my shoe in the window. They obviously work very close. We wanted to give y'all a win. That was really telling about how closely they all work together up there. You can talk bad about me. We'll talk bad about you. All's good. And then we'll sit behind closed doors and just like, yeah. All right. Now I want y'all to take everything I just said into consideration as we move forward and discuss Mac Butler and his bill and the vote that happened yesterday. Because you see, again, the same people who are getting played like a fiddle by Cynthia Allman are the same people who think they have it in now. And they're defending Mac Butler, saying, no, it's a great thing. And he didn't support it. And he didn't this. Okay, remember when I said everyone that voted no has a primary or a general election coming up where they are legitimately going to possibly lose their seat for the first time in forever? Mac Butler is one of those main ones. Yep. There's a reason Mac Butler put this bill up after he got challenged for his seat and not before, as multiple Alabamians have been screaming from the rooftops that we can't afford life anymore. So anyway, Mac tries to play it off because he voted no against the bill yesterday. I have the list, and again, I'll put up the Google document. All of them have people running against them that have very strong chances of beating them out. So Mac Butler goes on to say, I'm very proud to have sponsored and passed the strongest reform bill to date for the PSC. It's not. And it passed the House of Representatives 104-0 just a couple of weeks ago. Keep that in mind. It passed unanimously a couple of weeks ago. And that was when it was only a 5-page long bill. It had nothing in there about 7 seats or appointing them or any. It was strictly about rate cases every 3 years. In the end, I was not able to support the Senate substitute of my bill, but I was able to make it better and get some good provisions in the bill. I am certainly not defeated, nor am I mad at my colleagues for voting how they felt they needed to vote. Tonight was the first time ever I voted against a bill with my name on it. You know, my dad raised me. We certainly live to fight another day. I love and respect our leadership. I don't love and respect people who are benefiting off the exploitation of the working class of Alabamians, but that's just me, Mackie. All of this is part of the process, and an open dialogue is positive. I'm ready to tackle the next issue that pops up. That pissed me off, because here's the thing, this ain't over. You can still call Governor Ivey today. Again, read between the lines. Read between the lines. And more so part of his statement. I'm about to show y'all a bill of Senator Clyde Chambliss admitting that Mac Butler was involved in the entire reforming of the bill and approved of it all. Stay tuned. Actually, I'm going to put that up next. I'm going to play all this through for you, but I want to highlight the clip here because he is talking to Senator Coleman, who's like, what is going on with this bill? You know, why are we merging the two? What's going on? And he's saying it was a bipartisan effort, yet he then goes on to identify the fact that it was 3 white Republican males who decided to get together and do this.
A bipartisan bill.
And that was intentional for us to work together as we have done. And when we, as those of us who are working together, included the House sponsor, other House members, when we realized that a rate study every 3 years is essentially the same thing as mandating a rate increase every 3 years.
What he's saying there is that him and the sponsor of the House, Mac Butler, agreed and took out Mac Butler's original wording of the bill. The only reason people wanted it for the rate hearing, the rate cases, because they're saying that doing one every 3 years will equal a rate hike every 3 years because of how much it costs to do it. Mind you, they have been raising our rates year after year. And Clyde Chambliss here, he goes, part of this is freezing your rates until 2029. If that doesn't save money, I don't know what is. Mind you, I just got up there and detailed for them how many Alabamians have sent and told me that they are taking out credit cards to pay their current power bills. So no, Freezing the bills when it's at an all-time high and we're the third highest in the nation, the highest in the Southeast, that doesn't save anybody money. What it was a profit freeze. And also, I want to let y'all know it's a load of bogus because, remember, Alabama Power already put in a rate freeze until 2029. So this is just a bunch of, oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing. It ain't nothing real, nothing good, nothing beneficial. Also, at the end of 2029, remember, data centers, solar farms. They are 100% going to pass the cost on to us, as they can say here about, he's literally talking about the fact that, well, if we do that, we have to pass the cost on to the consumer because that's what Alabama Power does. They pass all of their cost on to the consumer. Well, Ashton, President Trump said, Trump knows about all this. Remember, he pulled 2 of the 3 out of the most corrupt PSC board in the nation and chose Alabama to be the state to poison for profit. Yeah. All right, let's continue listening to Clyde Peanut Head Chambliss.
We decided that we would go with the formal hearing. So the formal hearing is under subpoena, penalty of perjury, all the same stuff. But a formal rate case costs significant money.
So the difference is the formal hearing, they don't have to open the books.
Significant money, which also adds to the rate, the expenses and increase.
I truly believe that if they open the books and audit Alabama Power, I think legislators and Alabama Power members, I think they're going to jail. My personal tinfoil conspiracy theory is if we open and audit the books, I think multiple members of Alabama politicians, not just our legislators, like multiple members, or even past ones. I think the best, well, maybe not best case, but what should happen is that they go to jail. I think a lot of people from Alabama Power would go to jail. I think they would be safer in jail if they open those books and we find out what I think we're going to find out. Let's go.
$7 million.
So that's why we as a group decided to pull that out. It wasn't just
Can you name who it was when you say we as the group?
Representative Matt Butler, Representative Chip Brown, Representative Steve Clown.
Mac Butler, Chip Brown, who sponsored the first PSC power grab bill, he says it right there. So when Mac Butler, oh, I couldn't support it, I couldn't vote yes, I had to vote no. Then why did you approve it when you rewrote it with Clyde Chambliss, Mackie? And why did, when I left, this blonde woman stop me and thank me for speaking out and then proceeds to tell me that she worked with Mac on the first version of the bill and that she doesn't know what happened or why they're doing this? So that, to me, if someone was there that was working on the first round of the bill and then the sponsor of the bill completely switches up and goes to work with the sponsor of one of the most hated bills of this legislative season and combines them, and then they're both bought and paid for by Alabama Power. Tinfoil conspiracy theory, I think the Open Fair Act meeting thing, I believe there do be violations yet again. It ain't the first time I've thought that they were doing some backroom shady. I don't think anybody in Alabama would be shocked to find out that they're doing backroom shady. But I want to play it again because you still got people on here like, Mac Butler is amazing and I love him and he didn't know anything about this. He's just a poor little old man with a lot of power and a lot of money. He's the victim. He didn't know. Chambliss ratted him out. I mean, imagine snitching that hard immediately.
We as the group.
Representative Matt Butler, Representative Chip Brown, Representative Steve Clown. Those who.
Mackie knew. Mackie is okay with it. You'd be surprised how many of the sitting politicians are playing games in front of... No, actually, you wouldn't be surprised. But remember, Mac Butler is up against serious competition from Robert Hunter. And Mac Butler needs to maintain his position as legislator because he is also running in a highly exploitative... I can't speak today, y'all. Exploitative. He's exploiting people through his landlord business up there in Gadsden. Mac Butler is a greedy, greedy little SOB. Most of them are. And Senator Coleman here, man, her and Senator Figures, they voted nay on it yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago at this meeting. They were like, no, this isn't House Bill 475. But then they proceeded to take it to the Senate chamber yesterday, and it passed unanimously. Ashton, why did they do that? Because that's part of that posturing. It's the same reason Vivian played a little bit nicer with me this time, because she saw the way y'all jumped down her throat for her saying, I'm offended at these power bills. And I think she was trying to bait me. A couple people said that. They were like, dude, she was trying to bait you. And I did. I wanted to jump that boat, but I was like, you know what, Vivian? Even if you do, because she's running unopposed, but I can guarantee if this keeps up, that'll be her last race running unopposed. Also, there is still time to get signatures. Ashton, it's only a month away. There's no time at all. Where there's a will, there's a way. You let me know if you're in a district where no one is running. I mean, hell, Clyde Chambliss over here is running unopposed in my district. You think I ain't been eyeballing those independent slips? If y'all want to do this, we can come together and agree on like certain key points, but one of the main ones being that we do an open, independent, third-party audit of Alabama Power. I think we could unify this state. I absolutely fully believe that from the bottom of my heart. Because if there's one thing I know about Alabamians, whether they're right, left, up, or down, it is that they will fight for what is right at the end of the day to protect their family, to protect their neighbors. There's been a lot of misinformation and a lot of intentional manipulation of working class language that has divided us and turned us against one another. Enough is enough. All right, let's keep going. All right, we're going to watch the rest of this. Actually, you know what? Let's pause. I want to take it back to the start of the video. If you're listening on Spotify, please know that this is on YouTube and you can come and watch the clip as well if you want. You don't have to, although I do want to be putting stuff up on the screen later, and I am going to include the governor's phone number. I will read it out to you at the end, but again, if y'all just want to go check me out on YouTube, it's the same username, Ashton's Public Ledger. I'm trying to get a podcast going, trying to get paid for doing this. Since they wanted to fire me for speaking out about this. That's right, I got fired for talking about Alabama politics and Alabama power while wearing a Buffalo Wild Wings shirt off the clock. So someone took all my political videos and sent it in and said, she's representing your company, and they got me on a social media policy. Roll Tide. Let's watch.
Chairman and members of the committee, if I can, I'll save you a little bit of time. If you'll turn to page 9, line 237.
I was flabbergasted at page 9.
A big portion of what we took.
Okay, wait, we need to pause. I don't think I've said this yet. I might have. I don't know. That was the first time they were reading that newly updated bill. The public hadn't even seen it yet. So when they said page 9, we were like, page 9? That was supposed to be a 5-page bill. Page 9? It went to 12 pages.
The two bills together. Let me say this. We both had, the Senate had a bill, the House had a bill, both trying to accomplish the same thing. So over the last week and a half or so, we've really worked in trying to figure out how to merge and mesh the two processes to get to the same objective. And this is what we've landed on. If you look at that section, starting on line 238, what we have added is that a formal public hearing would be triggered by the occurrence of one of two things. One is an affirmative vote of at least 5 commissioners. The other is direction of the Secretary of Energy. We also added a list below there, starting with item B, in whether in determining this formal hearing, whether they should have one or not, they shall consider all of these items. The base retail rate that customers in Alabama pay relative to the national average, the base retailer rate that we pay relative to the regional average, customer satisfaction reports, reliability of the power grid, operational efficiency of generating facilities, capacity to accommodate economic development, and the relevant utilities credit rating. So that, Mr. Chairman, I'll stall and then answer any questions or sit down.
I've got a first by John, second by Steve, and then
So I'm pausing the video here because if you're watching online, you see that I was writing in my book. Because again, that was the first time that those senators were reading the bill. We hadn't heard any of it. I'm sitting here taking furious notes. I'm like, what is going on? So if you'll see here, I'm taking the notes. Page 9, line 238, added formal public hearings triggered by the 5 commissioners or the Secretary of Energy, or they shall consider it with the base retail rate comparing to the regional national average. And my question was, what about our income? Why are we not looking at the rates of power versus the average Alabamian income and seeing what is actually affordable versus what is not? And again, their rates, what they didn't talk about here is their rates include a guaranteed profit. Pause the video, go look up how much profit Alabama Power made, how much profit Southern Company made. I want you to go look up how much each one of those sitting senators were worth. Last time I was told they were each about $150K. Now, the Senate don't pay you $150K. They just got their hands everywhere. Greedy little bastards. All right, let's keep watching.
Senator Coleman.
Ms. Chair, and I know we have a public hearing today. I feel like I'm so far away. But this appears to be, on first glance, because of course I just got it in my hand, a significant change to the original version of the bill that we had.
I want to pause because this day we were pleasantly surprised by Coleman and figures. And we were like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then I realized, it was just part of their circus act. Because yes, both of those women are bought and paid for by Alabama Power, the same way every sitting senator right there is bought and paid for by Alabama Power. I have my Google document up, including all the incumbents, who's running against them. And then for the incumbents, I have attached the links to their Transparency USA or their Open Filing Act or OpenSecrets.com. Yes, they have all, including our state auditor. Did you know that our state auditor, Andrew Sorrell, is bought and paid for by Alabama Power? Well, you know now. So we were like, what? They're going against. And Vivian, she had a whole little moment. See, you can't group us all together. I vote how I want to vote. And then that dumb bitch turned around and voted the way Alabama Power told her to vote yesterday because they passed it unanimously. See, this was nothing but a circus. This was for show. This was a coordinated, choreographed puppet show, and Alabama Power just threw right up their butts. Just do this, say this, good girl.
I do understand what you're meaning as it relates to the merger.
I'm gonna send this to them.
For me, I would like a little bit more
I'm gonna email them this
explanation
video. I hate them.
about the full difference.
Because it's one thing to be disappointed by a man, like that's to be expected. But y'all selling out. Both of them are running unopposed. I have a little clip of Miss Coleman talking about, thank God I'm running unopposed. I'll post it after all this, but snakes, slithery little snaky snakes.
And the full inclusion, I don't know if that's now or after the public hearing, but again, the only thing I keep
But none of
thinking
it
about
matters
when I
because I'm
saw
going to vote how
the
Alabama
level
Power
of the
told me to
sub
vote.
and the difference was when the year, for those folks that are here, when the charter school legislation was being debated and it was 11-page bill, and then they went in conference committee, it came back.
We're going to pause on that charter school thing, the CHOOSE Act that funnels money towards private schools and is trying to get you to take your kids to a private school. As somebody who went into a private school strictly to stay out of the Montgomery public school education system, because we all know how bad it is, I want you to know that our private system is nothing more than a pedophile breeding ground. Ashton, how do you know that? You should look up my basketball coach from Macon East. And then you should look up the fact that we're a 1A school. We used to be 2A, but now we're a 1A school. You look at me and tell me if a man with that much power got away with it that long without being noticed or helped or aided by anyone else on that campus. And it ain't just Macon, baby. I remember I was in 7th grade. They're like, Lounsboro Academy. coach was with the kid. Edgewood Academy had one. I mean, all these little small Christian private schools, because you got to remember, being raised Southern Baptist, one thing I learned early on is that the church is the best place for a demon to go to, because these raping pedophilic demons will be forgiven. And especially the women, we're not allowed to question it because it goes God, man, woman. I want y'all to know that they are sending your children to a pedophile breeding ground. Private schools have a lot less, they can hire who they want. Let's put it like that. They are not beholden to the same regulations as public schools or same qualifications. All right, back to the main point. I'll make a whole video on that later.
29-page bill that no members in the majority party, nobody had an opportunity to read. And then there were some unintended consequences. And folks had to come back and undo some things they did in the 29-page bill because nobody really read it before voting on it.
Nobody really read it before voting on it. So this is a normal practice. You see, Senator Coleman later will be like, this is why they all think of us the same. You're telling on yourself, girl. Ugh.
I don't know if the full explanation happens here or after the public hearing, but I need a little bit more information.
Let's vote the sub real quick, and then I'll be glad to do the public hearing, and then let him come up here and he can address everything, any questions anybody on the committee has. Is that okay?
So
call the roll on this.
Before they let her get her questions answered, they want the public to come up and talk about it. A bill that has been completely changed and substituted for SB 360. Yeah. Okay, there's no games here. This isn't a coordinated puppet show put on by Alabama Power. Yeah, kiss my butt.
On the sub.
Senator Butler. Senator Carnley.
Past these little turds.
Senator Chester. Senator Hovey.
Sub has been passed.
All right, so this is after the hearings. Jeff Ramsey, who's running for Place 1 PSC, spoke. I spoke. That's John Dodd from Energy Alabama. He's the one you heard on the phone call with the R.B. Walker, former lobbyist for Alabama Power. Energy Alabama does a lot of good work on exposing this. I highly recommend going to look at their site. They have, like, if you need correct, honest, factual, data-driven information, go look at Energy Alabama. Highly recommend.
You can answer your question real quick.
I've had time to read it.
Okay.
For some reason, my Wi-Fi
Thank
got
you.
real spotty
I've had
here.
time to read it. Some people that are watching me.
I'm going to skip forward a bit.
The distinction.
That doesn't say.
All right, sorry. Yeah, my Wi-Fi got really spotty right there. But it was just Coleman questioning and asking. Oh my goodness, I love it when I choke on air. Yeah, my Wi-Fi got real spotty right there, but it was just Coleman. She was like, no, I had time to read it while everyone else was speaking out against it. I sat here and was reading the bill.
If that doesn't save people money, I don't know what does.
He's saying he doesn't understand why a rate freeze through 2029 wouldn't save people money. So if you're watching this, I'm going to put the number up for Clyde Chambliss on here. Again, I'll put it at the end and I'll speak it all out. Call him, email him, let him know. Snail mail, because they like to turn off their emails. So just go write a quick letter saying, hey, you suck. Here's why this doesn't save us money. You rich, greedy, opportunistic, peanut-headed bastard. And then send it. Roll Tide.
I hear
War
you.
Eagle.
Sure, I was really
Okay, Ivy's going to be gone soon.
The difference between the two. Now, prior to that, I already saw a difference. The difference between the original 475, which did specifically say at least every 3 years the commission shall convene a formal rate case. That's not in here. I was looking for the
That is correct. That is
differences
correct.
between the two pieces of legislation.
And the reason that is not in here, and this is my opinion, but a mandatory rate case every 3 years is the same thing. It equals mandatory rate hikes. That's what that does. The reason it does that is because every cost of a company, of us as individuals, goes up over time. So when you mandate that rate case, and all of those costs are included in there, you're going to have mandatory rate hikes.
Okay, so do you have empirical data that actually supports your theory there? I mean, I hear you. We say a lot of things, and I'm not saying that you don't know what you are saying. I'm just saying I would like some data to be able to.
I'm saying he's full of it.
The theory. In addition to that piece, I'm gonna just say this, Ms. Chair. The way this bill is being handled right now is the reason people have a poor perception of the legislature. This bill, the original bill, House Bill 475, I just looked up the vote count from the House of Origin. In its original form, full bipartisan support. I think it was like 98 to and it was 98-0. The other members were non-voting members. Your bill, however, which this has been merged with this, what was the House count on that original power to the people? Was that? Exactly. So your original version of the bill, the power to the people, has not even been voted on by the House members. Yeah. Am I making sense here? So you got a bipartisan bill.
Pause. So what she's saying there, just so y'all are fully aware, SB 360 that passed the Senate that everyone was vocally against, it got kicked back to the House, as it should, right? The House never voted on it. They knew how widely unpopular this was. Y'all were very loud, and thank you for helping me call the House and tell them no to Senate Bill 360. So instead of voting on it, what they did is they had a meeting with Mac Butler and Chip Brown, the original sponsor of the first PSC power grab bill. All of them are bought and paid for. Remember that. They have this meeting and they gut it and they just say, we're going to keep the House Bill 475 name because people online are saying, hey, call in and support this bill. And then we're just going to put SB 360 text in it, completely take out all the 475 stuff, make it SB 360, but call it House Bill 475. And then, like she said, the legislators don't read these bills before they vote on them sometimes, so they just be passing stuff through. And that's why we have a poor perception of all of them. We have a poor perception of all of you because you all are playing the same profit over people game, and it is immoral and it is evil. And I genuinely need to know what is wrong with you inside that people over profits. Is it something that you're willing to stand up for? Coleman figures, all of y'all, what is wrong with you? Figures, oh, God runs. God ain't told you nothing. Jesus told me in the Bible to storm the temple, that when the Pharisees are playing their games, you come in that bit. Try not to cuss. Vivian, we ain't got the same God. The one I know about in the Bible, disappointed in you.
And that was intentional for us to work together as we have done. And when we, as those of us who are working together, included the House sponsor, other House members, when we realized that a rate study every 3 years is essentially the same thing as mandating a rate increase every 3 years, we decided that we would go with the formal hearing. So the formal hearing is under subpoena, penalty of perjury, all the same stuff. But a formal rate case costs significant money, which also adds to the rate of the expenses and increases $7 million. So that's why we as a group decided to pull that out.
Can you name who was, when you say we as the group?
Representative Matt Butler, Representative Chip Brown, Representative Steve Fox. Those are the three from the House I was with.
So 3 Republicans on a bipartisan bill. You had Democrats and Republicans that voted for House Bill 475. But then you put it together, a committee of folks.
I didn't determine
that was not, I just want the public to know. A committee of people, you all came together and made this decision in the absence of the other side of folks that actually supported the original.
While she's saying all this, remember, The next day, when the public wasn't there, she sat there and turned around and did what she was told to do and voted the way Alabama Power wanted her to vote. So this is a farce.
House Bill 475. That is, again, here.
I would correct one thing. We don't decide what this legislation is. This committee does, and the Senate floor does, and then the House floor does. That's where the decision.
Well, the decision is made by the majority party, because a lot of times what you all do is ram things down our throats, just like this. Because there were two different pieces of legislation.
You ram things down our throats, and then you went along with it and approved it, Coleman.
That some people in the Senate side had to be hit on your original Power to the People Act. The House members never get an opportunity to vote on that bill at all.
That's my understanding. It's going to committee, but it's out of our control at this point.
But once you merge and you get this one passed, you already know what's going to happen with the one downstairs. Because it has all of this one now has all the elements that you all wanted in it in the first place. And I will just say it one more time, this is the very reason the public does not trust this body. There was a bipartisan piece of legislation that, from your words, what you just said up there, 3 people out of the 140 member body decided that this was going to be best for you all to merge these 2 pieces of legislation. 3 out of 140 made that decision for all of, what's the population of the state of Alabama? 5.1 million people in the state of Alabama. One of the speakers was absolutely correct that House Bill 475 leans toward, it didn't get us all the way there, but it leans closer to where the public is saying they want us to land, whereas the other piece of legislation does not. And merging the 2 together is a smoke and mirror trick that is the reason, again, they don't like us. They lump us together, as Senator Figure said, we're not all like that.
And then you proceeded to prove you're all like that. I got the video from yesterday too. Don't y'all worry. This is going to be a long episode.
All not trying to push for a certain demographic. We're all not trying to exclude other sides. Politics in itself, the art of politics is negotiation. And 3 people didn't negotiate with the rest of us. And I won't say anything else.
With all due respect, Senator, that happens on almost every contentious bill. There's a group that gets together and tries to work through it and negotiate.
However,
the decision
for the
is
minority
left
party
in this body
say.
and the floor and the House. That group is non-binding. It's just we work together. That's all it was.
And I'm going to say again, generally there is an opportunity for the minority party to have some type of input into that process. You just named 3 white male Republicans, not even any women, that were a part of that decision. So I'm going based on what you said.
Senator Sessions.
Just a question, Senator Chambliss, and I happen to agree. If you force a rate hearing in today's economy, you're going to force a rate increase.
I do not like Senator Sessions, but I happen to agree that in today's economy, if you force a rate hearing, it will force a rate increase. Y'all are increasing the rates anyway. This rate freeze for 2029 that Alabama Power already put forth was a profit freeze. They froze the rates at the highest. There are people who have sent me their bills. Their power bill is more than their mortgage. There are people with budget billing 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses, $800. Budget.
What makes the House bill such a dangerous bill, in my opinion. Now, my question is, though, in the past 20 or 30 years, have you ever heard of a rate decrease? Do you know of any, or
I don't. And in my world, private world is not power, but it is utility. And I have never seen any board that decrease rate.
I've never seen a rate decrease before. Have you? Okay, y'all know how Alabama politics, like Kay Ivey, think about the Alabama solution. She's like, we will find an Alabama solution. And then she burps. And they're like, we will do what Alabama does. Because Alabama's so big on doing everything differently. Why shouldn't we be the first ones to hold a rate decrease? If Alabama does everything different, if Alabama's going to go about Alabama's way to do what is best for Alabama, but that's the thing is when they say what is best for Alabama, they mean what is best for their shareholders and their owners. We mean what is best for Alabama working class citizens. These corporations own them morally, spiritually. They are bought and paid for and corrupted. They are morally bankrupt.
I will make one other comment on the power bill, power rights. Alabama Power, other utilities are guaranteed X amount of profit, I understand that. And if they make above that profit, it's their obligation to refund that back to the ratepayers. And they have done that in the past because I have called it on my bills before. I'm not taking up for anyone on this. I know our rates are too high, our food's too high, our fuel's too high. You ought to be in the farming business if you want to, you know, if
That man
anybody
ain't
can
a farmer.
justify charging more for food and groceries, I can
That's a
justify
big corporate
it,
farmer.
but I can't mandate it. So, you know, I think there's a balance here we need to try and find. I don't know that this is it, but I know the original House bill that we had, very, very dangerous. We do feel like what we have at the present is not working.
The original bill that would open the books was very, very dangerous. So, these demons in our legislature, and I do mean demons, morally bankrupt, spiritually. I just had a wet dog come jump on me. Anyway, I just don't understand how they sleep at night, if I'm being quite frank. I would not be able to live with myself knowing that I'm voting yes on a bill that will unalive. It will kill, not unalive. I'm so used to TikTok lingo because they flag everything. Stupid. They will kill people. Think about the Alabama citizens with medical issues. Think about the energy that they have to depend on. What if they can't pay these sky-high bills? Because on top of that, you know, the Alabama legislator wanted to talk about a bill that was going to add a prescription tax to us. For every prescription, there's an extra tax. Every time I turned around this legislative session, there was another bill about adding a tax, adding a fee, adding a cost, adding a this, adding a that. Let me look up, because look, I think I'm going to end it here, because, you know, we could talk about, and I could show the video of Vivian just being an absolute troll, but it's just not. I want to focus on the actionables. All right. Actionable number 1, call the governor. Call the governor's office today. She is, I think, still in a hospital bed, but it wouldn't be the first time KIV done signed something out of office. I'm going to put up the pictures and stuff here, but the switchboard for the governor's office is 334-242-7100. Again, that is 334-242-7100. Snail mail works great because they can't turn off snail mail. Plus, we're giving business to the Postal Service. If you want to fax them, they do have a fax machine, 334-353-0004. Kind of want to get access to a fax machine just to have fun. But what I want to say here, tyranny. Tyranny is a form of government characterized by a single ruler or small group holding absolute, unrestricted power, often exercising it in a cruel, arbitrary, or oppressive manner. Think about the corptocracy, like I said earlier. And then remember that there is a line in the Declaration of Independence, or not the Declaration, excuse me, the U.S. Constitution. Not the Declaration, the U.S. Constitution. There are lines about what to do in the face of a tyrannical government that refuses to listen to the people. The second I get wind that Kay Ivey is out of that hospital bed, I think it's time we go and stand outside the governor's office, the governor's mansion, whatever. She cannot sign this in. If she does, it's not the end of the world. We need to, let me pause. Let me give some hope here. Hold. I've been big on primaries being make or break for Alabama because there are a lot of pro-establishment candidates running. And especially in the governor race, there are two very big names and big money. Remember big names and big money in Alabama? What is that synonymous with? If you have power in this corrupt system, why is that? How did you succeed in this system for so long? Look to your working class candidates. So let's say theoretically that it does go through and that it gets signed in. Kay Ivey goes and appoints all those positions this summer. What we need to focus on is getting people like Jeff Ramsey in place one, because he's already said even if he has to work with, being outnumbered, he'll just go in there and be a whistleblower. I love it. Let's do it. Jeff Ramsey, PSC, place one. Governor, Dr. Will Boyd. Because remember, anything that they write into law can be written out. It can be overturned. You just have to have the correct people in office. And ask the people running in your district, would they overturn this? Would they take this back? Would they roll it back? Would they... Because think about it. They say it's too much. It costs too much money to hold a formal rate hearing where they open the books every 3 years. So their solution is to hire 4 new people. On top of those people, hire these staff that would come with them. Oh, they're creating jobs. Excuse me, for Alabama, that ain't what they're doing, baby. I think when we did the math, it was like 4 or 5 million a year being added. I could be wrong on that. I think I'm thinking about something else. But I remember we did the math. And even if, let's say theoretically that the math comes out to be like, oh, well, adding them all in yearly is cheaper than doing a rate case. Think about over time. They're not going to hold rate case, but they're going to keep jacking up the rates because they're putting in loyalists into these positions. Do y'all see the game that's being played here? So yes, the reason, Senator Coleman, the reason we group y'all all in together is because you all act the same and you have the same shareholders to answer to. You have the same moral bankrupt values. You have the same... I need to be careful with my words here. But Alabama politics has forever been synonymous with corruption. Vivian Figures wanted to sit there and tell me, I've been a senator for 30 years. I've been alive for 31. And in that time span, Alabama has been last or next to last and has maintained its status of, well, at least there's Mississippi. So should I lay those credentials at your feet, Vivian? Because it looks like me, in my lifetime, my entire lifetime, it looks like you've done a whole lot of nothing for us. I want to make this a state where we don't want to escape from it. My dogs are back. They're saying it's time to stop. And it is. It's time to get off and post this and call Kay Ivey. Let's get to it. Stop House Bill 475. Stop the PSC power grab. It's time to hold Alabama Power accountable and stop the corporatocracy that they have allowed us to become. And we do that this primary on May 19th. Go check your voter registration right now. Find out your voting poll. Find out your registration. See if you're registered. If you're not, get registered. This is make or break Alabama. And these demons, enough is enough.